a famous artwork that you probably recognize, and the artist who made it. Another famous artwork that you may also have seen, and the famous artist who made it. Have you seen this painting though? Or know its artist? It's not surprising if you don't. Women artists have suffered a long tradition of underrepresentation in art history, and they continue to do so even today. Which is why, in Art Spark Season 2, we introduce you to 8 women artists from India. Those who challenge norms, question existing systems, and write new narratives through their incredible careers. Basically, 8 pretty badass women. Welcome to Women That Changed the Art World. Let's start with a game. Here is a very zoomed in detail of an object. What do you think it is? Could it be a gunny bag? A bunch of ropes? Or a charpai bed? You have 10 seconds to pick. Ready? Let's go! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. What's your guess? This is actually a very zoomed in detail of an artwork from the Mac collection. It is an 8 feet tall sculpture made of hemp, which is the same material that is used to make gunny bags or ropes. And all of it is handmade by the artist Mrinalini Mukherjee. Pretty cool, right? Mukherjee was exposed to art from early on, thanks to her artist parents Binod Bihari and Leela Mukherjee. But the route that she took in her career was entirely different from them, leading to the development of a uniquely individual style. In the 1970s, Mukherjee began making sculptures using things like jute, hemp, and cotton. Her peers did not really think of these materials as great mediums for art, but Mukherjee continued to experiment with them anyway. The sculptures she created using these unconventional materials could not be put into a single category. Were they traditional or modern? Were they sculptures or textiles? Were they abstract or figurative? There was no one way of looking at them, and she loved it. Mukherjee once said that she wanted her sculptures to conjure the feeling of awe you get when you walk into the small sanctum of a temple and look up to be held by an iconic presence. Let's think about this piece again. Imagine it on display in our museum. As you walk up to this grand form and take in all its details, you may begin to understand what she was talking about. The rich colors you often see in her work also adds to their majesty and awesomeness. Mukherjee would often color the fabric in synthetic dyes as a first step. In this other work, for example, you can see brown, purple, lavender, and maybe even a bit of blue. Then she would move on to knotting. As she would knot the strands one after the other, a form would emerge. Mukherjee was inspired by the many living traditions of India, such as Theyyam and Kathakali, as well as ancient Indian art. And in her works, all these influences and interests come together, giving rise to new and unique forms. She called this work Nag, or the snake. It does kind of look like the hood of a snake, but it also kind of looks like a mysterious creature with 2 bulging eyes, a flat lavender nose, and a bit of a brown tongue. What does it look like to you? Mrinalini Mukherjee chose jute and hemp as her mediums when these materials were not considered good enough for art making. They were only used as supports for so-called crafty items. But she wasn't deterred and carried on doing her thing. Up until her last years, she continued to experiment with new materials and techniques like wax and bronze. Do you see any connections between these and the textile pieces that we've been looking at? Learn more about Mrinalini Mukherjee and her work online. And while you're at it, follow us on our social media and subscribe to our channel to get regular updates on other ArtSparks videos. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.